So today I cannot wait to share with you our new fireplace makeover. It is a complete budget fireplace makeover. So it's nothing fancy, nothing special, but it looks so much better than it did before. And I'm super excited to show it to you and to tell you all about it. Okay, first I want to give you a little bit of background on it so you'll know how it got into the shape it's in, or that it was in before we did the makeover. So I bought this house way back when I was 27 years old. So we're talking more than 20 years ago. And I was a young parent and I bought it. My son was 7 at the time, but we moved into it just the two of us. And I lived here for 5 years. And after 5 years, I met my now partner who had 3 kids. And I had 1, he has 3. So it's just too many kids to live in this house. It is a really small house. It's only about 1,250 square feet. And so we decided we can't all live in here. So we moved into a bigger house and then we rented this house out. So after the kids all grew up and they left home, we moved back into this house because we just didn't need a bigger house. And we've been here ever since. So when we first moved back, we did a little bit of renovation, just a small amount. We changed the floor out. We repainted it, and I wanted to do something special with the fireplace. Originally, it was just that red brick, which is the same red brick that's on the outside of our house. I don't really care for the color red. I don't know why. It's just not my color. It's not my color scheme. So I wanted to kind of break it up a little bit without painting it because I didn't want a completely painted fireplace. So what I did was kind of back in that time period, Joanna Gaines was kind of really popular, her style. So she did a house on HGTV and it had this, what she called a German smear. And I don't know if that's an actual thing or not, but I liked it. It kind of looked cool. And I thought, okay, it's not painting the brick, it's just changing it up a little bit. And so that's what I did to this fireplace. And I just did a light coating of it. Basically, you just take a scraper and you scrape mortar over it, and it's not really thick. It doesn't cover the whole brick. It just gives it enough to kind of break up that red brick color. So I loved it. I thought it would great with the rest of the house. I had the mantle painted a really dark charcoal color. I just really liked it. So fast forward a couple of years ago, we had a fire and the house burned. Now, the entire house didn't burn down, but it was bad enough that we lost just about everything. And they had to take everything down to the studs. Even part of the studs were redone. The one thing that they did not replace, though, was the actual fireplace. So they left the fireplace there, but I'll put up some pictures here and there so you can kind of see the damage that the fire did. When you have a fire in your house, if it doesn't burn the entire house down, you still lose just about everything that you had. The smoke and the soot covers everything, and it's really kind of a sticky substance. They'll come in and they'll just trash everything you have because it's dangerous. It's dangerous to live with that soot. I think it causes cancer, all kinds of stuff. So they'll take everything out of your house. Plus, they had to come in with all of their fire hoses and they had to wet everything down. Everything's flooded, so your stuff is just going to be damaged. There were a few pieces of furniture that I was able to save and keep, and mainly they told me I should have thrown them out, but I couldn't do it because they were my parents. And all of the stuff that I had from when my parents were alive, some of our old pictures, some of our old Christmas ornaments and everything, those things were in the attic and they were completely destroyed. So I wanted to be able to keep something. And so I did end up keeping a couple of things of furniture. My point is we had to basically replace everything except for they left this fireplace here. Let me tell you something. When they come in to put a fire out, they bust holes in your ceilings and your walls, everything, which is fine. That's the way they have to do it. But when they do that, sheetrock comes down, all of the fire remnants comes down, everything got ground into the fireplace. So all of that white powder or the soot, all of it got ground into that brick and it just would not come out. When we finally moved back, we tried everything. We got like this buffer, or I don't know what it was. It was kind of like a tool that you would put on your drill and it would go around and try to clean things. We tried everything. We got like a wire brush. We got brushes. We soaped it up. We tried to do everything to clean that brick off. And it wouldn't clean off. It was just the soot and the drywall was just ground into the bottom. So the back portion, that was the portion that was against the wall here, you can see it here, that was fine. it looked still okay, basically how I had first done it. But then the hearth, I think that's what you call that part on the bottom, it was just ground in dirt and dust, and it just looked so dingy. And I had put this little foam thing around the corners because I didn't want the grandchildren to bust their heads or anything on that. So I'd put that around there. It just looked really dingy and dirty. So what we wanted to do was we wanted to redo it, and we initially thought we would put some tile on it, but then we started costing that out or pricing that out, and it was just, we just really didn't want to spend that much money on it. So we decided that we were just going to go back to what I did initially, but we were just going to coat the whole thing in it. I really didn't want to paint the brick because I'm not a fan of, I'm not against painting brick, but I'm not a fan of that, the thick, shiny paint on brick fireplaces or even brick houses. I just don't like that thick, shiny paint look. So if we could get it covered where it looked clean, but didn't have that sort of shiny painted look, that's what I wanted. And I know that there might be some people in here and you never paint a brick fireplace. You didn't have to live with this fireplace. It was dirty. It was dingy. Something had to be done about it, and it was going to have to be covered up. Trust me, we tried everything. This is the only thing we could think of to do other than tile it, and we could not afford to do that for this project. So anyway, we decided that we were going to go and we were going to add the mortar just like we did before. So that is what we did, and we went through the whole process of remortaring everything. We actually took off the mantle first and had to relay the bricks on the top because they were just almost falling off. And I don't know, when they put this house back together, when they put the mantle back on the house, they just didn't care, and they just put it on over broken bricks. Maybe that's what happened. I don't know. But I really like the way that it turned out, and I'm really happy with it. So I want to show you the whole process and everything that we went through to get it where it is now. So the first thing that we did was put some paper down to protect the floor, and we taped everything off. We thought about removing the trim on the bottom of the fireplace, but Scott couldn't get it off without completely tearing it up. So we just taped everything off, including the walls. The mortar is pretty messy, and so sometimes when you are spreading it on, little clumps can fall, especially if you're doing that back wall portion. And so we just didn't want to get it everywhere. And then we just started off using just regular spatulas here, or I mean, obviously not kitchen spatulas, but like mortar or whatever that's called. Whatever these spatulas are called, that's what we use. And we just spread it on there. We didn't really have a plan. We just thought we would wing it and see how it went. We didn't pile it on there, but we put a good amount and then kind of would just go over and scrape it off. And we didn't worry about getting it super smooth. We just kind of got it on there and wanted to leave a little bit of the texture there. And we actually ended up going over everything twice and scraping certain sections a little bit more than others so that some of the brick could kind of shine through a little bit. And you can see this mortar stuff gets everywhere. And by the way, we just used the pre-mixed mortar, and it was just plain white mortar. I don't think it had a color in it at all. It just looked white. So you can see it looks very white here. You can see that there's still some texture, which we really liked. It made it kind of not so boring, I guess. I really appreciated that. And you can see here that some of the brick is coming through. So we really like that. And this is 2 coats, and it does look pretty white at this point, but when it dries down, it's more of a really light beige color, kind of the color of the wall. So maybe more of a cream color. And so we're just taking off the painter's tape and the paper from the floor. We still ended up getting some mortar in places, but it came up pretty easy. And 100% these cordless vacuums are worth it. We actually ended up going over it a 3rd time, but not every part of it, just the top of the hearth and then the back, because some of that stain, that water staining, was still coming through. So we needed to go over it one more time. So we did the 3rd time, and that really worked. And it looks white because it just hasn't fully dried yet, but it'll match the other part of it. And so here you're going to see Scott is making the mantle, and we chose cherry wood because cherry wood is a lot less expensive, or in our area, it was less expensive than walnut. I really love walnut, but to be honest with you, the cherry wood worked really well with a walnut stain on it. It actually matched our floors much better than using walnut with a walnut stain. And these corners, Scott was really proud of these. These are his mitered corners. He worked really hard to get them exact, and I think he did a great job. So if you have time, put in the comments, hey, great corners, Scott. He would really appreciate that. He would get a kick out of that. So here you can see that he has made the frame for the fireplace mantle, but he had to clamp everything after he had wood glued it all together. And so there were different parts to this. And then after he got it all sanded down, he went ahead and put it on the fireplace, but without screwing it on there. So this is just the part that goes over the very top of the fireplace, and then the mantle will go on top of that. So he's just checking to make sure everything is level. But here you see the walnut stain on the cherry wood, and I think it just turned out so beautifully. And we just used Minwax dark walnut stain, and then he put a finishing wax on the top of it. So that's how it kind of has this sheen to it. It's really, really nice. It's sort of a satin sheen. It's not flat or matte, and it's not super shiny, which I really appreciate. So here I am just decorating the mantle. I just use the same things that I had before because I really like sort of a simple design. By the way, that snake plant, that is a fake plant because I did not want any real plants around my fireplace at all. I didn't want it to get wet and ruin the look that we had, which is part of the problem that we had before. I actually have a lot of plants in my kitchen, but this one is fake. So I really love the mantle. I think it goes perfectly with the floors. I like how it's sort of a traditional but sort of craftsman-like style. And the bricks really turned out really well. I like that it's not perfect and there's still a bit of texture to them. And the mortar actually ended up looking so much like the color of the wall. It just blends really well. I just think it looks great. All right, so here are the before and the afters. It's just a completely different look. And I don't think either really looked that bad except for the dirtiness of the before picture. It really didn't look that bad before it got all the soot and everything ground into it. But I just think this newer version is just so clean and simple. And I love the way the mantle came out. It really matches the floors that we have in here so well. And I just think it looks richer and it just looks more sophisticated. Now, what we still want to do is add doors to the fireplace. We want to get some black doors and put them in there so it doesn't just have that mesh there. I think that'll make it look a lot better too. But for now, we're gonna have to wait on that and we'll get that at some point in the future. But I still really love the way it turned out. I just think it looks more sophisticated and contemporary, to be honest. All right, so I'd love to know what you think about the makeover. We love to do these small little miniature makeovers. I know we have some more in our minds to do for the future, not with the fireplace, but other little things. And Scott is really handy with woodworking and things like that. I will try to record those as well and put them on here because I just think projects like that are just so much fun to share. All right, let me know what you think, and I will see you in the comments and in the next video. Bye.